pool. In this process, they've gone through multiple interviews and they have been screened, and they will be undergoing at minimum 28 hours per week of programming. And that includes entrepreneurship training. Where's Mr. Terry Moody? Entrepreneurship training from a man who has been incredibly successful in the field, buying, selling, acquisitions, cognitive behavioral therapy through nationally accredited and national models that have been demonstrated to work, and the power of peers. Because we believe those nearest the solution have also been nearly affected by the problem. And so, borrowing from my own experience, having served 15 years in prison and overcoming boundaries, overcoming barriers, overcoming obstacles, I believe in the leadership of every single man and woman that we are bringing in here. And let me finally say this, and I won't take up too much more time. Let's humanize the component of who these men and women really are. Their fathers, their mothers, some of their children are now serving in Saudi Arabia to defend our nation. So we're talking about very, very real people in our community. And we talk about the stigma around recidivism and people formerly incarcerated. So I ask you a question. When you're saying no to something, what are you actually saying yes to? Thank you to the generous support of our governor, our mayor, our county executive, to Secretary of the Health and Social Services, who was not able to be here, Dr. Kara Odom Walker, and Division Director Ray Fitzgerald, for their commitment to making sure that we have a 16-week period of paid training prior to the entrepreneurship and residence period that our men and women will be receiving a salary towards. So I would like to introduce you to that first group, and starting with Anthony Ciferni. Anthony served 4.5 years, and he was just recently released in October. He's a man that's concerned about his family and his community, and wants to be the best that he can be in our world. Okay. Sorry, the logistics were kind of put together. Alicia Moore. Alicia 34. She served 2.5 years and is one of the most resilient young ladies I've spoken to in I don't know how long. George Hamilton. Where you at, George? George has overcome more barriers than most people will ever even see. 3.5 years in prison, in recovery, actively working since he's been home. An amazing man. An absolutely amazing man. Brenda Gaines, AKA CEO Brenda. I'm telling you right now, Brenda served 17 years in prison, has just been recently released, and is teaching women about domestic violence and the cycles of abuse, and she honors us with her participation in our program. She likes to say she turned her mess into a message. O'Neill. Charles has been around the hydroponic industry for a very long time, and he served 6 years in prison and is now going to take the street pharmaceutical business into hydroponic growing. Anthony, aka Ham Evans, our youngest in the cohort, is here so that his 2 children don't think of his mistakes, but think of his triumphs. John Brothers. John has overcome about 13 years of incarceration, struggles, and challenges to be the man that you see standing before you today, and we're honored to have him. Caleb Brown. Caleb's 28 years old and wants his mom to be proud of him, and he's here to make himself a better man and focus on how he can anchor himself in economic development. James Terrell. James is 54, served 13 years in prison and has a 23-year-old son who's in Saudi Arabia right now. And he's here so that when his son returns from the military, he's able to assist him in having an economic foothold. Isaac Von Duyck. He's our resident model. Isaac comes to us after having overcome challenges with a variety of barriers, including mental health, substance use disorder, and interfaces with the law. Isaac is a remarkable man who's focused on building for his family. Kendra Pettyjohn. Kendra was released in 2017 after serving a brief period in jail, and her focus is on her child and making sure that she, as she says it, ain't gotta rely on no man. Michael Grass. Michael comes to us through a variety of different means, most of them unpleasant, but certainly comes to us after having overcome the barriers that he's been faced with in life and has experience having grown marijuana. Kayla Ciano. Kayla's passion is in the food service industry, and it's a regular occurrence for people returning home after serving incarceration to end up in the restaurant industry. More often than not, they're mistreated and underpaid. She's mentioned that she just doesn't have the necessary voice to lead in that field. So she is very uniquely looking at opportunities to find entrees into the food service industry to providing healthy food for people in a way that's welcoming to her soul. Jamal Alamin. Jamal's 42 years old and has been focused on trying to build a business for himself and his family. He has 2 adult sons and wants the beginning of what will be his legacy to start here. Patrick Britt. At 51 years old, Patrick has a 17-year-old son who is serving in the U.S. military, U.S. Marine Corps respectively, and was released in August of 2018. He's done his very best, but despite life, the obstacles have not been kind to him, and he is looking for the opportunity for the door to open here. My boy, Steve Dennison, coming through. Was released 5 days ago. Met his 6-year-old son last night. Has been fighting and fighting and fighting to get to his son, and now wants to be a father that his son can grow up to emulate. Because not only are we disrupting the cycle of recidivism, but we're also disrupting the cycle of pre-entry. Last but not least, our elder statesman, Andre Johnson. Andre's 64 years old. As he says, all my kids are grown. Served 28 years in prison and is looking for an opportunity to demonstrate the wisdom and life experiences that he's amassed over the years through Second Chances Farms. And I'm going to close with this. Maimonides, a 12th century scholar, defined hope in the best operative definition of hope I've ever heard, when he said, hope is the belief in the plausibility of the possible, as opposed to the resignation to the probable. Hope is the belief in the plausibility of the possible, as opposed to the resignation to the probable. Remember that.